guys, it's Dawn, and today's cards we're going to be using these whimsical images in a little more sophisticated design. Now it's no secret that I have a hard time crafting cute, so the easiest thing for me to do is adapt these images to my personal style. We'll also be adding texture using Martha Stewart's white texture effect, and this will feature our Easter Wishes 4x6 stamp set. There's a lot of great images in this set, but we'll be using the bunny and the sheep, and then this corner floral piece from this set. Now, since I'm stamping all four corners separately, I've adhered this to my block in the corner here, and this will allow me to use the corner of the block and the corner of my paper to create my margin. This will make sure that each time I stamp, I have the same distance from the edges and I have it in exactly the same spot of the corner so that I know that my design is perfectly symmetrical on all sides. So I'm going to line that corner up to the corner of the paper and stamp each of the four corners using the Memento Tuxedo Black ink. I'm using this ink because it works extremely well with Copic markers, and I'm going to be using Copics to color these in. I'm stamping both of these designs on our cashmere cardstock, and I love this cardstock. This is one of our new neutrals, and it has just a slight hint of blush to it. You can see it up against that white cap. It's just slightly tinted with a blush color, and I love having the option of different neutrals, so I'm not always using white or cream. Now I'm going to add the sheep to the middle of this one, and since this card is so easy to make, I figured I'd do them both at the same time, and I'm going to stamp the bunny on the second one. After that, I'm just going to come in and add my greeting here. I'm lining it up at the bottom, and then I move it straight up and stamp it down. Now I could use a grid block for that, but since this is such a small stamp, I only have the large Fisker stamp press, and it kind of dwarfs it. To color in these leaves, I'm using YG03 and YG63, and you can see here I am not being careful at all. I'm just kind of flicking it in there, and because of the whimsical design of these images, I can be a little more carefree with my coloring. The sophisticated layout is going to offset the whimsy of the images and the coloring, and I think it's going to create the perfect balance. For a little added depth, I'm hitting the inner corner of these leaves with that YG63, and that's just going to add a little bit of shadow or gradation to the color here and add a little more interest. To fill in the dots and the flowers in this image, I'll be using R20, and I really like this color with the cashmere cardstock. It's like they were made for each other. Again, I'm just quickly going over these. I am not taking too much care to stay inside of the lines, and this just comes together really quickly. Now this step is optional. I am going to be filling the sheep with the white texture effect to look like wool or fur, and I am not going to push it all the way to the very edge. So I want this little bit of gray shadow to be showing, and again, it's totally optional. I just think it adds a little bit more to the design. So I'm just going to fill in where I think there would be some shadows with this N1 color. And for the face, I'm using E000 and just darkening the face just a little. Now for the hooves, I'm using this Faber-Castell art pen, and my black Copic marker, it tends to bleed on me. I just don't have a lot of control with it, so this really fine tip on this marker works better for me. So I'll just fill in his hooves, and once I've got him all completely colored, now I can use this white texture effect by Martha Stewart. Now this is kind of like I guess maybe the texture, actually it's thicker than embossing paste or modeling paste, but it's almost like a thick embossing paste with sand in it. I'll be using this, my Perfect Pearls brush. I've used it to apply glue before, so the tip is really stiff, and that's what I need here. I need something really stiff so that I can push this around. I'm going to stir it up just a little bit, and here you can see it's kind of chunky, but that's perfect for emulating wool. Now I have some strays on my brush, so I don't want that to put that paste anywhere I don't want it, so I'm just going to trim those off really quick. And then I can continue to lay down my paste. So you don't want to pull too much out, you want just a little bit, and I'll just kind of start pushing it and smearing it around. You don't want to brush it on because you want that lumpy texture, but you don't want to glop it on because you won't have any control over it. So I usually just scoop out a little bit, put it in there, and then I start pushing it. I found it's easier to push it to where you want it than it is to pull it. And I'll continue filling all of this in, and I'll do his head. Now in the smaller areas, it is a little more tedious, but it is so worth it. I find it better to just take some, put it on an area you've already done, and then just start pushing it into that head. Now I think that this would look great for snow too on winter cards. You know, have like a roof and have some snow along the edge, or a tree with some snow on the branches, or a wreath. Now this doesn't take very long at all to dry. It takes about 20 minutes or so. I think mine dried in about 15 minutes. So the thicker the layer, obviously the longer it's going to take to dry. So once it's all done, I wanted to make sure that there wasn't anything that would fall off in the envelope or ruin the card. So I'm just burnishing it with my finger here to knock off any high points or any loose paste. And as you can see, there is actually very little fallout. Now these front panels are 2.5 by 3.5 inches. So we're going to mat it with a 2 3/4 by 4 3/4 mat. And for the bunny, I'm using our new Dove Gray cardstock. This is another great neutral. It's a really light gray, and stamping shows up beautifully on it. And then for the sheep, I'm using our other new cardstock that we introduced just recently, our Soft Honeydew. And this is a really soft yellowy green hue, and it's another great neutral. We're going to adhere both of these to our card fronts using some foam tape, and these are A4 card sizes, so they're 3 3/4 by 4 7/8 of an inch tall. So up close here you can see that texture and that depth that it adds to the card. It's just another fun way to take a simple design and add a little bit of wow factor to it. And it's still pretty flat, so it's not going to mess with your mailing or add to your cost. It's quite light. So that finishes up today's cards. Again, I'm not very good at crafting cute, but when I pair it with a nice technique and a simple, sophisticated design, I think it works for me. You can find the featured products at Wplus9.com, and you can connect with us on our blog at stampawaywithme.blogspot.com, and you can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.